There are days when your heart feels like a shattered mirror piece, scattered across memories you wish you could forget. You wake up carrying the weight of yesterday, hoping that today might be different, but the pain lingers like a shadow that refuses to leave. You've tried to smile, to distract yourself, to act like it doesn't hurt anymore, but deep inside, something is still holding you hostage. The truth is, healing doesn't begin when life gets better. It begins when your heart learns to trust again. Not in people, not in plans, but in the one who already knows how your story ends. You weren't meant to carry everything, not the betrayal, not the missed opportunities, not the guilt. Some things are too heavy for a human soul. That's why he asks you to let go, not because it doesn't matter, but because he knows it's breaking you. You may think holding on proves your strength, but sometimes real strength is in release, in whispering, I don't know what's next, but I trust the one who does. There is something sacred about brokenness. It brings you face to face with your need for him. And if all this pain did was make you fall to your knees, then maybe it was never a punishment, but a call to return. You haven't been abandoned. You're being redirected. He heard the silent cries. He saw the nights you didn't sleep. And through every detour, he's been writing a better ending. One you can't see yet, but one that begins the moment you let go and move forward. You see, the reason many people can't move forward is because they've built a home in a moment that was meant to pass. They keep replaying the betrayal, reopening the loss, revisiting what was said or done, hoping somehow it might all make sense. But pain doesn't always come with an explanation. And even if it did, would it really undo what's already been written? Sometimes we don't even realize that we've trapped ourselves. Not in chains you can see, but in silent prisons made of resentment, regret, and what-ifs. You're not stuck because life won't move. You're stuck because you won't let it. You've attached your peace to an outcome you never received. You've made your healing depend on an apology that may never come. You've convinced yourself that until the person who hurt you makes it right, you can't breathe freely again. But what if I told you that peace doesn't need permission from anyone but you? That you can stop waiting for closure from the people who broke you, that choosing to move on isn't a sign of defeat, it's a declaration of freedom. Ask yourself, is it really worth spending your days chasing justice if it costs you your soul? Is it worth sacrificing your future to prove a point to someone who no longer has power over your life? There's a deeper strength in walking away than there is in standing your ground over what's already been lost. Sometimes the loudest form of healing is in the quiet decision to stop looking back. You're not the only one who's been wronged. You're not the only one who's been overlooked, unappreciated, discarded. But that doesn't mean your story ends here. Your value doesn't decrease because someone else failed to see it. The door that closed was never your only way forward. It was just the one you thought you needed. And now something better is waiting. But you'll only see it if you turn around and walk toward it. Letting go is one of the hardest things you'll ever do, not because you're weak, but because you care, because you gave, because you tried. And when you've poured so much of yourself into something, walking away can feel like abandoning a part of your own soul. But hear this clearly. Letting go is not the same as giving up. It's not losing, it's choosing your peace over your pride, your future over your pride, your healing over your history. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from work. It comes from holding what you were never meant to carry. Anger that weighs down your chest, revenge that poisons your thoughts, regret that clings to your spirit. You weren't created to live like that. You were made to rise, not rot in old wounds. Think of it this way. A traveler climbing a mountain doesn't make it to the top by dragging a sack of stones. If anything, the higher he climbs, the lighter he has to travel. That's how life works. Every step closer to peace requires you to leave something behind. A grudge, a wound, a person, a version of yourself that no longer serves who you are trying to become. Yes, it hurts. It hurts to let go. But it also hurts to stay in the same place year after year, replaying the same scene, speaking the same pain. And the truth is, that pain has already taken so much from you. Don't let it take your future too. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is whisper to yourself, this ends with me. No more carrying the bitterness. No more punishing yourself for things that weren't your fault. No more living in a chapter that God already closed. What's ahead of you is greater than what's behind, but you won't know that until you loosen your grip on what was and finally allow yourself to embrace what could be. There's a moment in history that silences every excuse we make for clinging to revenge. a moment that echoes through time as the greatest example of mercy when it was least expected. The Prophet, peace be upon him, returned to the very city that had once driven him out. A city that had mocked him, starved his people, spilled innocent blood, and declared war on the truth he carried. And yet, when he stood at its gates with strength and authority, surrounded by thousands, he didn't come to settle scores. He didn't come to humiliate those who had wronged him. He came with his head lowered, his heart humble, and his soul rooted in purpose. He asked them one simple question: what do you think I will do to you today? And these were the same people who had tried to erase his name from the earth. But now, faced with power they couldn't deny, they whispered, "You are a noble one, the son of a noble one." What he said next wasn't just an act of forgiveness, it was a revolution of spirit. "There is no blame on you today. Go, for you are free." In that moment, he could have taken everything from them. But instead, he gave them something no sword could ever win: dignity, a chance to change, a future unchained by the past. This is the example we claim to follow, yet how often do we seek vengeance in our own lives over things so small in comparison? A harsh word, a broken relationship, a misunderstanding that turned into years of silence. We cling to pain as if punishing others will somehow heal us. But healing never comes through hurting. It comes through rising above what tried to bring you down. If the Prophet could forgive at the height of power, what stops us from forgiving when we're on equal ground? Maybe we're not weak for letting go. Maybe we're finally strong enough to stop fighting battles that don't serve our souls anymore. Sometimes life doesn't take from you to punish you, it takes to prepare you. You lose a job, a relationship, an opportunity you thought was everything. And in that moment it feels like your world is unraveling. You sit there wondering, why now? Why this? Why me? But what you don't see is the door just behind the loss, the one that only opens when your hands are finally empty. I remember someone who came to me, his voice heavy with frustration. He had lost his job, not gently, but harshly, suddenly. He said, "I prayed for growth, for a raise, and instead I lost everything. What kind of plan is this?" And I asked him a question that quieted the storm. Hurt you? And I asked the question, one who wrote your story. Even when you don't understand the chapter, he was holding on so tightly to a handful of coins, a job, a title, a routine, not realizing that God was trying to give him gold. But the hand has to open first. That's the part we struggle with. Letting go of what feels safe, even when it no longer serves us. And when he finally did, when he stopped chasing what was gone and looked at what was right in front of him, the tide turned. New doors opened, not one, but many. He told me later, if I had stayed angry, I would have missed all of this. I would have been stuck in revenge while my future waited for me to simply turn around. This is how God works. He closes a door not to leave you in the dark, but to turn your face toward a sunrise you weren't even looking for. Trust is not built when life is easy. It's built in the silence after everything falls apart. When you choose to believe that what's ahead is better, even if you can't see it yet. One of the hardest questions people carry in their hearts is, why does God allow pain? Why are the innocent hurt, the kind betrayed, the helpless forgotten? It's a question that has echoed through generations, and yet the answer always leads us back to something deeper than logic. It leads us to trust. When a storm hits, we look for someone to blame, and in our pain we often look upward. But the truth is, most of the harm we see in this world is not sent from above. It's caused by the hands of people, human greed, human cruelty, human choices. And yet the one we blame is the same one who sends healing, justice, and light in the aftermath. God does not command evil. He allows it for reasons that stretch beyond this moment. Sometimes to wake a sleeping heart. Sometimes to purify a soul. Sometimes to elevate someone through patience in a way that peace never could. And always, always to give us the chance to turn back, to rise, to reconnect. But justice, it's not lost. It's just not always immediate. The child who was taken too soon, the tears that fell in silence, the cries no one heard, none of it is forgotten. The delay in justice is not a denial of it. There is a day when everything will be made right. Not one deed overlooked, not one soul left behind. So no, God is not absent in suffering. He is closest to those in pain. And even when He doesn't remove the hardship right away, He gives something better, strength to endure, wisdom to grow, and the assurance that nothing was in vain. When you feel like asking, where is He? Remember, sometimes the very breath you're using to question is the proof that He's still sustaining you. There's a kind of heartbreak that doesn't always get spoken about. The quiet ache of a home that fell apart, a marriage that didn't last, a love that faded into silence. Divorce feels like failure even when it was necessary. It feels like grief even when you know it was for the best. And in a world that celebrates beginnings, not many know how to honor endings with grace. And if that's you, if you've walked through a broken relationship, I want you to know something. This is not the end of your story. You are not less worthy. You are not broken beyond repair. And just because something didn't last doesn't mean it wasn't real. Sometimes things fall apart so your life can fall into place. Sometimes walking away is not giving up, it's growing up. We live in a time where relationships are treated like glass, cracked easily, discarded quickly. No one wants to repair, no one wants to bend, everyone wants to bend, everyone wants to be patient. And yet love was never meant to be flawless, it was meant to be forgiving. But when forgiveness has been given and still the peace is gone, when you've tried and it only hurts more, then it's okay to step away. God doesn't ask you to stay in a place that's destroying your soul. And for those who fear they'll never find love again, remember, the one who created your heart knows how to mend it. There are people ahead in your story you haven't even met yet. People who will thank God that you made it through what you did, because without that ending, you would never have found each other. So don't let this chapter convince you that the book is over. Close it gently. Mourn if you must. But know that your heart can bloom again. Better love awaits, not because you deserve perfection, but because you trusted the one who perfects everything in its time. There are people who walk through life wearing chains no one can see, not on their hands, but on their hearts. Chains made of shame, guilt, and memories they wish they could erase. Maybe that's you. Maybe you've done things you're not proud of. Maybe you've crossed lines, broken promises, hurt. But I want to tell you something that could change your life. You are not your past. You are not your worst moment. You are not beyond redemption. The same hands that once sinned can now be raised in prayer. The same mouth that once lied can now whisper truth. And the same heart that once wandered can find its way home, because the door of return is always open. God doesn't love perfection. He loves sincerity. He loves when you turn to Him with a heart that says, I've fallen, but I want to rise. True repentance is not about erasing your story. It's about rewriting your ending. It's not about pretending you were never broken. It's about showing the world that mercy is real and that the cracks in your soul are where His light came through. When you truly change, when you walk away from darkness and toward light, something powerful happens. The mistakes that once weighed you down become the very reasons you rise. The past you once hid becomes the proof of transformation. And the God you once thought was far away, you realize He was always near, not waiting to punish you, but to purify you. So don't let your past chain you. Let it remind you of how far you've come. Let it fuel your humility, your compassion, your drive to do better. You were never meant to stay down. You were meant to fall, rise, and walk forward, stronger, softer, and closer to the one who never gave up on you. There is something we all forget in the rush of life. Time is not promised. You and I don't know how many mornings we'll have left, how many chances we'll get to change, to forgive, to return. One day the call to prayer will rise without us. One day the sun will shine and we won't feel its warmth. One day someone will say your name in past tense, and when that day comes, nothing you owned will matter. Only what you gave, what you changed, and who you became in the moments no one else saw. So come back, not tomorrow, not next year, now. While the heart is still beating, while the eyes still weep, while the soul still longs for peace. Come back before the page turns and your story ends in a place it was never meant to. If you've delayed your prayers, start again. If you've let go of your hope, hold it tight. If you've walked far from the path, just take one step and the most merciful will meet you there. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be sincere. Let today be the day you finally let go of what's holding you back and move forward lighter, freer, and more alive than you've felt in years. because your story isn't over. Not yet. Not while you still have time to turn the page.